Good morning, Malacañang Press Corps. This is our weekly economic briefing. Today's topic, PUV modernization. Let's now have Assistant Secretary Tony Lambino.
Thank you, Rocky. Good morning and welcome to the weekly economic press briefing hosted by the Economic Development Cluster and PCOO. A mayor in South America once said, quote, "A developed country is not a place where the poor have cars. It is where the rich use public transportation," close quote. For this week, we'll discuss one of the flagship programs of the Duterte administration that invests in improving our transport and mobility systems into one that is easier, more convenient, and environmentally sustainable to provide options for the commuting public. The train law states that 30% of incremental revenues are earmarked for social programs such as the UCT and the Pantawid Pasada, two topics that have been featured in this weekly economic press briefing. But also, the GAA appropriates for the purpose of other transfer programs, in addition to the 27 billion for UCT and Pantawid Pasada, 42.4 billion pesos. And these include rice subsidies, free tuition in state universities and colleges, TESDA training, and PUV modernization, 3.1 billion for the last item in 2018. That's a total of 69 billion pesos for social programs and other transfer programs. The Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program, PUVMP, aspires to strengthen our public transport sector. It will make commuting safer and easier for everyone while providing our PUV drivers with a more stable source of income over the short to medium term. It involves improving not just our public transport vehicles, but also the policies and administrative mechanisms behind our daily commute, especially for millions of Filipino commuters who ride public utility jeeps. So without further ado, let us welcome DOTR Assistant Secretary for Road Transport and Infrastructure, Assistant Secretary Mark De Leon.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tony, Rocky. Today, I'll be discussing the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program of the government. Next slide, please. This is, as touted by DOTR, is one of the largest non-infrastructure project of this administration. When we say one of the largest, this will provide accessibility even to the farthest islands of the Philippines. This will improve the economic conditions of these islands, and by doing so, we are improving the economic status of our country. Yung isang linaunch namin sa Tacloban just recently, yung one of the pioneers ng PUV modernization program, yung tatlong ruta no, na linaunch namin doon, yung mga tao previously, alas 7 ng gabi, tulog na. Malayo probinsya. Pero with the launch of that pilot implementation of the PUV modernization program, suddenly yung economic activity dun sa area na yon nag-extend up to 10 o'clock p.m. Yung malls na previously sarado ng 7 o'clock, alas 10 ng gabi, dun na lang nagsasarado. Suddenly, yung mga tao are very much willing to extend their stay sa mga malls, sa mga areas ng commerce, dahil alam nila na may sasakyan silang pauwi. Yun yung nagawa nitong programa na to in that area in Tacloban. And that we will replicate nationwide. Next slide, please. This is a common experience of the riding public. As mentioned earlier, 70% of Filipinos, imagine, 70 million Filipinos commute daily. Yung commuting experience natin is exemplified by unreliability. There's too much inconvenience to the riding public. Yung tao, hindi alam kung anong oras siya makakauwi. Papasok pa lang, mukha na siyang pauwi. Dahil yung smoke, the emissions, yung hassle na kumuha na sa sasakyan. Hindi mo alam if you will arrive on time for your work or for your school. Some of us Filipinos wake up 4 a.m., 5 a.m. just to reach the office at 7 or 8. Yan yung nangyayari sa ating bansa daily. And a lot of Filipinos suffer because of poor public transportation. So that's why we are really advocating itong pag-push natin ng public utility vehicle modernization. Next slide. Ano nangyayari sa kalsada? We have roads na merong jeepney, may UV Express, may tricycle, may bus. Hindi rational yung paggamit ng kalsada. There are so much competing modes vying for space in our streets, making public transportation inefficient. Itong sample na picture na yan, nandyan yung tricycle, andyan yung jeepney, nag-aaway pa minsan yan. Kasi nga, tinignan ng mga bawat operator na livelihood itong public transportation. Pero I will tell you guys, mali po yung pagtingin na livelihood ang isang public transportation. Number one, na binigyan kayo ng prangkisa, ang number one na requirement dyan, kaya kayo binigyan ng prangkisa ng LTFRB, is that the operator should be financially capable. So mali talaga yung ating pananaw before na nag-issue ng mga prangkisa, individual operator, individual franchise, individual unit, individual drivers. Anong nangyari sa kalsada? Individual thinking din. Anong mangyayari kapag ganong pananaw ang operation ng public transport? Pagdating ng hapon, yung driver, kapag nakuha na niya yung kanyang boundary, uuwi na siya. Yung driver, tuwing Lunes, yung mga driver, darating, kukunin niya yung unit from the operator, darating yan alas 10 or alas 7 ng umaga, kasi lasing nung Sunday. Very disorganized yung ating public transportation system dahil individualistic yung nature. Walang sistema, walang efficiency. Unlike in other countries, Singapore for that matter, they have only 3 operators. That ensures the public transportation is being run efficiently. Consolidated ang operations, alam ng tao kung anong oras darating yung bus. Pag sinabing in 3 minutes darating yung bus, in 3 minutes darating yung bus. Ganon yung transportation system na gusto nating mangyari. Semblance of efficiency, semblance of an organized system. Next slide. Pagdating ng umaga, sasabihin ng driver, "Ma'am, barya lang po kasi wala akong panukli." Yan yung mga usual na na-encounter natin sa umaga. Next slide. Pera, yung driver, pagdating ng hapon, ibabalik niya yung kanyang unit na hiniram sa operator. Boundary system ang nangyayari. Yung operator minsan magrereklamo kasi yung driver hindi niya buo mabibigay yung boundary niya. Sasabihin ng driver, "Ma'am, baka pwedeng 500 pesos na lang yung boundary ko kasi naplatan ako eh." Yun yung unreliability on the part of the operator. Kaya na sinasabi rin ng ibang operator, mababa ang kanilang kita dahil nandun sa sistemang ganon na boundary system. Next slide. Yung mga jeepneys natin, no? Ang sinasabi nga ng karamihan is, it's a Filipino icon. Tama po kayo, it's a Filipino icon, but kami, gusto nating sabihin that it exemplifies the Filipino attitude. It exemplifies, however, yung bakit tayo failure sa public transportation. Bakit ba nagsimula itong jeepney na to? Nanggaling yang mga jeepney yan sa mga excess of the wars, no? Ginamit yan yung mga old military jeeps. Naging resourceful yung mga Pilipino. Ginamit kasi yun lang yung available na units nung panahon na yon. So, resourceful yung mga Pilipino, pero unfortunately, ang sinasabi nga natin, it shows our pwede na attitude. Pwede na yan? Kahit na lumang-luma na, pwede pa yan? Yun yung attitude natin eh. Yung attitude ba natin na hindi natin mabitawan ang isang lumang-lumang sasakyan? Kasi pwede pa. Pero ang sinasabi nga natin, etong mode ng transportation na to ng jeepney, hindi talaga siya fit for a public transport mode. In other countries, yung mga bus nila talagang maluluwag. Yung mga upuan nila may appropriate spacing. Yung pintuan ng jeepney, for example, sa likod ang bukasan, babaan ng mga pasahero. Hindi siya safe for public transportation. Dahil yung pasahero, hindi nakikita ng driver kung nakababa, nakasakay. Kapag yung driver nag-aabot pa ng sukli, tapos biglang bumaba yung pasahero, so maraming instance na may nadidisgrasya na pasahero. Mataas din yung kanyang step. So very unfortunate yan sa mga elderly natin, sa mga PWD, walang provision for ramps, wheelchairs. That is what we are reforming now. Next slide. Next slide. Sige, next. Ito, parang pwedeng mahuli sa anti-distracted driving. Halos wala ng space na makita yung driver for his windshield, ano? Tapos nakikita niyo ba yung yung mga jeepneys natin, yung sa harap? Mahaba yung harap niya, tapos yung merong antena sa harap na naka-install. Alam niyo yung function yon? Para makita niya kung gaano kahaba yung nguso ng jeepney. Yun yung pinapakita natin kung gaano inefficient yung design ng lumang jeepney. Yung nguso niya na napakahaba, making him hirap pag-turn, hirap mag-U-turn. Pag nag-U-turn ng isang jeepney, sakop siguro mga 3 lanes, 4 na lanes. Yung mga jeepneys natin also, walang mga walang mga handbrake. If you can do a survey, walang mga handbrake yan. Kasi nga, lumang-luma, hindi pa uso nun yung mga handbrake. Ngayon lang naman naging standard yung handbrake sa mga modern vehicles natin. Sige, next slide. Not to mention yung usok. The Clean Air Act was passed 1999. The Clean Air Act mandates that all vehicles be already Euro 4 compliant. Unfortunately, yung mga jeepneys natin, hindi siguro Euro 0, hindi papasa. Dahil sa kanyang emissions. Remember, yung emissions na binubuga ng ating jeepneys will also produce economic losses. Why? Because of upper respiratory diseases. Upper respiratory diseases na yung mga may sakit will spend valuable government resources. Pupunta sila sa PGH natin, pupunta sila public hospitals natin, ginagamit yung resources ng gobyerno. So yan ang sinasabi ko, we should improve our vehicles. our vehicles should pass clean air standards. Next slide. Road crashes. Ang dami na pong namamatay because of our unsafe vehicles. Next slide. This just one of the pictures, no? Next slide. And again, sa Manila, ang na-experience natin congestion. But in other areas of our country, ang na-experience nila inaccessibility. Walang jeepney, walang bus, gagamitin nila ito. Yung mga jeepneys natin, puno, hanggang tuktok, may sakay. Sige, next slide. So ano ang problema sa ating public transportation ngayon? Ang problema, the jeepneys dominate the public transportation of our country. 70% of our public transportation are being run by jeepneys. And yet, hindi sila nagmo-modernize. The buses, the taxis, the school service, all other public transport modes are required to modernize every 15 years. Pero yung jeepneys, hindi. Merong mga binigay na siguro exemptions sa kanilang sektor ng past administration. But this administration is bent on improving the public transportation, bent on improving jeepneys. Next slide. Sige, next. 90% of our jeepneys are 15 years old and above. So yan na lang ang ating alalahanin na figures. Next slide. Kaya naman ginawa natin itong programa ng Public Utility Vehicle Modernization. The past administrations tried to explore modernizing the jeepneys, but they failed. Because ang kanilang focus is only on improving yung vehicle. Improving the specifications of the vehicle. Without providing financing, without really thinking kung ano yung problema ng operations ng jeepneys. But in this program, we see to it that holistic yung approach, inclusive, comprehensive, and higit sa lahat, talagang nakafocus doon sa existing mga operators and drivers. Sige, next slide. Ang basic policy natin ng DOTR, reliability, safety, accessibility, environmental soundness, and comfort. So yung binuo naming programa on omnibus franchising guidelines, yan yung basic policy na sinusundan natin. Sige, next slide. Number 1 na titingnan natin is route rationalization. Yung route rationalization, kapag hindi natin ginawa ito, this will ensure, This will ensure the financial viability of the operations. Ang rationalization kasi, tinitingnan yung demand for certain routes and titingnan natin kung ilang number of units dapat ang tumakbo sa ruta na yan. Kapag yung demand is 5,000 persons per hour, dapat ganito karaming units ang tatakbo dun sa ruta na yan. In one instance, pumunta kami sa one city, Baguio City yata yon. Tinanong namin yung isang jeepney operator, jeepney driver, magkano daw yung kinikita niya sa isang araw. Sabi niya 500 pesos lang daw. Tinanong namin, bakit ganun kababa? Ilan ba kayo sa ruta ninyo? 500 pala daw sila na units. Meaning sa isang maliit na lugar, ang nagko-compete na units, 500 units. Pero kung aaralin mo talaga, kung ano talaga yung requirement do sa lugar na yon, baka kailangan lang 200 units. So meaning, may oversupply in some of our areas. May oversupply in some of our areas, may undersupply in some of our areas. So kailangan nating aralin anong mga ruta ito, anong demand ng public transportation sa ruta na to, and paano natin malalaman Para natin malaman kung ilang units yung kailangang i-deploy dun sa lugar na yon. That's route rationalization. Sige, next slide. This is one of the policies then na we will be introducing in this PUV modernization program. Kapag yung ruta ay napakalaki na ng public transport demand, kailangan dyan mas higher level of transportation mode ang tumakbo sa lugar na yan. Meaning, kapag malaki na yung demand, kailangan bus na yung tumakbo dyan. Kapag maliit yung demand, andyan dapat tumakbo yung mga jeepneys or mga PhilCabs natin. Kapag maliit yung kalsada, alangan namang mag-require tayo ng bus doon. Kailangan nating ilagay doon yung mas maliliit na mga units. Sige, next slide. Ngayon, tumutulong sa atin yung mga local government units. Yung mga local government units kasi, alam nila kung ano yung development sa lugar nila. Gumagawa sila ng mga comprehensive land use plan. Alam nila kung saan yung mga resettlement areas or residential areas. Alam nila yung trip patterns sa lugar nila. So tutulong sa atin yung mga local government units sa pagplano ng mga ruta. Again, pagpaplano lang ng ruta, kasi yung franchising, it will still be the mandate of DOTR, LTFRB. Next slide. Sige, next slide. So, ongoing na yung capacity building program namin sa mga local government units. And we have completed at least 98% for the first part of the capacity building program. Next slide. Ito yung sinabi ko kanina na kailangan nating i-consolidate yung operations natin for public transportation. Kailangan nating i-consolidate yung existing drivers, operators, into cooperatives and corporation. So far, we have consolidated at least 486 co-ops. So yung mga prangkisa, instead of individual operators, individual drivers, ibibigay natin yung prangkisa sa mga cooperatives. Cooperatives that will ensure financial viability of the operations kasi mas maayos na yung kanilang management. Mas maayos na yung kanilang fleet management, mas maayos na yung kanilang dispatching. Yan yung ating basic policy. Next slide. Next. Ano ba yung benefit kapag mag-consolidate sila? Kapag individual driver, individual operator, mahirap kumuha ng financing sa isang bank. Mahihirapan ka, for sure. Pero kung kayo ay isang cooperative, registered under CDA and OTC, mas madali kayong makakuha ng financing. In fact, Land Bank and DBP, yan lang talaga yung polisiya nila. Kapag kayo ay isang cooperative, registered cooperative, mas madali kayong makakuha ng financing. Yung bangko, no, nababaan yung risk ng bangko na magpautang sa inyo. Kasi yung risk na hindi kayo makabayad ulit, since individual kayo, bumaba. Next. Go back. Yung cooperatives. Go forward. Yes. Go back. Yan. Again, it reduces competition. Yung competition na yon na sinasabi natin, that boils down to inefficiency. Nagkakareran sa kalsada, hindi ka assured yung operator nakikita ka. Pero kung cooperative na, at the end of the day, yung kita ng buong cooperative, mapagpaparte-partehan din yung mga drivers. Mapagpaparte-partehan ng mga operators. Kasi naka-fleet management system na, may top card system, na lahat ng income ng operators mapupool nyo sa isang bank. So mas madali nyong ma-manage financially yung operations ng isang cooperative. Number 2, it will improve siyempre yung public service. It will improve public service and also you will have access to discounts, a lot of discounts. Kung mag-isa kang bibili ng gulong or battery na sasakyan. Magkano presyo niyan? 5,000 pesos probably. More. Pero kung 500 kayo, 1,000 kayo na bulk order niyong bibilhin, yung gulong na yan, probably ang bibigay sa inyong discount ng mga suppliers, 20%, 30%, or even more. Fuel. Issue ngayon yung fuel. Tumataas yung presyo ng fuel. If you are a fleet of 500 vehicles, makipag-MOA kayo sa mga fuel companies na meron kayong sariling tangke. Alam niyo magkano nakukuhang discount ng mga big fleet operators? As much as 5 pesos, 6 pesos, dahil meron silang sariling tangke ng krudo, ng diesel. Malaking discount ang makukuha nyo because you're ordering bulk. Yan yung dapat makita ng mga operators natin. Sige, next slide. And ito yung pinakamaganda na ginawa nitong gobyerno na to that previous governments didn't venture into. Itong financing program natin. We introduced the 5, 6, 7, 8. Ano yung 5%? That's the equity. Yung down payment mo is only 5%. 6% interest, 7 years repayment. 7 years repayment. Anong ultimate objective natin sa financing program na to? This is to bring down the cost of the amortization of the vehicle operators, the drivers. Ibababain natin, in-stretch natin yung repayment period, binabaan pa natin yung financing niya, and then, next slide, meron pa tayong 80,000 pesos per unit na subsidy. 80,000 pesos per unit na subsidy bibigay ng gobyerno para yung jeepney operator halos wala ng down payment na ibibigay doon sa Land Bank and DBP. 80,000 pesos, imagine yung mga FX natin, yung mga bus natin, which I mentioned earlier, nagmo-modernize sila ng walang assistance sa gobyerno. Ito, bibigyan pa natin sila ng assistance. Binabaan na nga natin yung financing, hinabaan natin yung repayment package, bibigyan pa natin sila ng subsidy. Next slide. How will we ensure na viable yung programa? Viable, financially viable yung programa. Yung mga bagong sasakyan has increased its capacity. Mas lumaki yung mga sasakyan, mas tumaas yung mga sasakyan, so people can even stand up in the middle. Yung mga dating 20-seater capacity, ngayon can accommodate 30 passengers. So mas tumaas yung kanyang vehicle capacity. So ibig sabihin, mas tataas yung kanyang income. Next is decrease in fuel expenses. Because of these modern vehicles, yung mga Euro 4, these are more fuel economic, fuel saving vehicles, no? Mas mataas yung kanilang reduction in fuel expense. Sige, next slide. And since gagawin natin yung rationalization ng routes, we will ensure na appropriate number of units lang yung tatakbo sa kalsada. Meaning, mas dadami yung kita din talaga ng mga operators. And dahil nga sa efficiency savings due to consolidation, yung sinabi ko kanina, marami kang savings na pwedeng magawa since consolidated kayo. Next slide. Ito yung ating fleet modernization basic policy. Next slide. Sige, next slide. Ito yung modern designs na ng mga bagong jeepneys. I'll just show you. Meron pa ring design. Electric to. Using the old iconic icon jeepney look. Sige, next slide. Sige. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. No? Meron pang antena sa harap para lang makita ng driver yung distance ng sasakyan niya. Next slide. Sige. Ito yung sinabi ko kanina na kailangan mag-comply sa Euro 4 standards. Um, Basically, si DTI is also coming up with their assistance program for jeepneys. So, meron silang pinropose din na assistance for local manufacturers. So, they will be providing incentives for local manufacturers to develop the jeepney locally. Sige, next slide. And we have instituted the standards for the Class 2 and Class 3 jeepneys. Yung Class 2, very fit for urban routes, so pwedeng maraming tumayo sa gitna. Yung Class 3, kung napansin ninyo, would be fit for longer routes. Front-facing, pwedeng ipalit natin sa mga FX, mga UV Express natin. Walang jump seat, bawal ang jump seat para mas safe yung mga pasahero. Sige, next slide. Meron tayong fare collection system. Fare collection system is already required sa mga public transport natin. Next slide. These are just some pictures of the units of the modern PUVs na na-release na natin. Sige. Kung makikita ninyo, yung length ng jeepney is almost the same length as your regular jeepney. But actually, mas space efficient siya. Dahil nga nawala yung hood nung dating jeepney. Yung hood ng dating jeepney, kung titingnan nyo sa road space, sayang lang siya. Sige, next slide. Sige. Nakita niyo yung space between the knees of the commuters. So pwede kang sumakay bumaba, hindi magbabanggaan yung mga tuhod ninyo. Sige, next slide. This is one of the co-ops na nag-launch na sa atin, Taguig Pateros. They were awarded at least 300 units yung papatakbuhin nila. Sige, next. This one is in Iloilo. Tingnan nyo yung isang vehicle doon. Hindi naman ganong kalakihan yung modern vehicle. Sige, next slide. And these are just some of the units na compliant models na natin. Next slide. Next. Sige. That's why we call it PUV na talaga, Public Utility Vehicle. Ayaw na rin natin talagang gamitin na term is modern jeepney. Kasi ang function talaga niya, is public utility vehicle. Next slide. And also we will have stakeholder support mechanisms, no? Stakeholder mechanisms para yung mga existing operators, existing drivers will have access to these stakeholder support programs. So bibigyan natin sila ng livelihood trainings, bibigyan natin sila ng mga scholarships, TESDA, DOLE, DTI. It's already part of the program and it's already budgeted. Next slide. Sige, next. So we have already a list of routes na naaprubahan na ng LTFRB, DOTR. We have 8 routes in NCR, 3 routes in Region 6, 4 routes in Region 8 with a total of 240 units. Next slide. Ito yung pinakita ko kanina, yung sa Tacloban. Next slide. This is in Senate, no? May mga ruta na tayo na tumatakbo dun sa Senate MOA area. Ito yung sa SETSCO. Next. This one is yung Taguig Pateros, which is I mentioned earlier. Sige. And Iloilo. Next slide. Sige. So basically, that's the benefit of our public transport modernization program. Kung dati, unreliable, inefficient yung ating sistema, we are moving towards consolidation to make it really safe, efficient, and comfortable. Next slide. Drivers are not assured of income. Yung operators, hindi rin alam kung yung driver magbibigay ng kanyang boundary. Pero with consolidation, we are assured na financially viable yung programa. Next slide. Disorganized traffic, we are pushing towards more transit-oriented and more vehicle mobility options for the passengers. Next slide. And this is not a DOTR program. Sinasabi namin, this is a government initiative. Mahirap na i-pursue itong programa to with the DOTR alone. Kausap natin dito, DNR, DOF, DILG. Kausap din natin yung mga government financing institutions and also international partners who are providing us the studies and the policies na pwede nating implement dito sa PUV modernization. Next slide. And this is the final slide lang, no? It's very rare that isang polisiya na talagang mismong presidente pa ang nagpupush ng programa na to. I don't know if other presidents has spoken about the jeepneys, but to my recollection, it's only the president who really pushed for the modernization program. And alam naman natin, I know that all of you knows na kailangan natin tong public transportation na to. This will really help drive the economy of the country. Thank you very much.
Okay, MPC question, Pia Gutierrez. Microphone, Joseph Abot. Thank you.
Sir, hi sir. Sir, I just want to clarify what you said kanina that you don't want to use the term modern jeepneys anymore.
Yeah, kasi kung nakita nyo naman talaga yung unit, no? The jeepney is not anymore the icon of yung jeepney natin. So, mas gusto nating sabihin that this is the modern public utility vehicle. Okay? It's only in this country na merong ganyang jeepney. And ang jeepney na yan, no, is basically yung itsura lang nung unit. But yung function niya andun pa rin. Yung function niya as a public transportation, as a mode of public transportation, andun pa rin. So mahirap lang na sabihin it's a jeepney, but it's not really a jeepney sa itsura pa lang. But it's a modern public utility vehicle. Kaya PUV modernization yung tawag natin sa programa. We're not only modernizing jeepneys, we're modernizing the public utility vehicle fleet of the country.
And it looks like it because yung mga pictures na pakita natin looks nothing like the iconic jeepneys that the Philippines is known for. Pero why this effort to totally erase or at least tanggalin yung jeepney which is very iconic and also rich in history na sinabi mo nga that the Philippines lang ang meron?
Yeah. Ang nangyari kasi, no, only the operators themselves choose what unit they want to purchase. Hindi magdidictate yung DOTR kung anong unit yung bibilin ng mga operators na to. Merong mga units tayo na still iconic jeepney look, pero nakita natin yung mga operators, ang binili nila yung modern public utility vehicle look na. So, andun pa rin. We're not closing the doors to that old iconic jeepney look. Andun pa rin, may mga suppliers that are building the iconic jeepney look, pero yung mga operators natin, nakita natin yung mga nag-launch, no? Sila yung namili kung anong units yung kanilang bibilhin, and they are now veering away from that iconic jeepney look.
So it seems like the government is replacing the iconic jeepneys with vehicles that look like minibuses.
Hindi naman. Ang sinabi ko, yung operators mismo ang namili kung anong units yung kanilang bibilhin nila. And based doon sa nakita natin, yung mga binili ng mga units is already yung mga modern jeepney looks. Ito yung available sa market. The suppliers, vehicle suppliers na nag-provide ng mga jeepney, modern jeepney, ito yung itsura. Remember na hindi tayo yung nag-design ng mga jeepney, modern jeepney na to. It's the vehicle manufacturers. And then, yung mga operators, sila yung mamimili kung anong unit yung kanilang bibilin.
But why not make it part of the program? That since you're also modernizing the jeepney or the PUV, why not make it a point or sabihin sa mga manufacturers na should at least incorporate yung old designs? You said that they think that it's not efficient.
Yes. Yung lumang design nga kasi daw, sabi ng mga manufacturers, it's very inefficient and manual labor intensive yung lumang design. Na kapag minamass produce na ng mga vehicle manufacturers, mas lalo pang tumataas yung cost ng jeepney. Yung mga bells and whistles, yung mga whatever na mga ornaments ng jeepney, mas lalong tataas yung cost. So yung mga manufacturers natin ngayon are making it more simple, making it fit for mass production.
Last na, sir, the DOTR is not concerned that it is contributing to yung pag-erase ba ng Filipino identity, erasing a Filipino icon.
I'd like to think na hindi naman ganon yun. Go to Iloilo, go to Davao, go to Cebu. Wala na halos iconic jeepney look doon.
Not
Yung mga kokonti na lang. Yung Cebu natin na mga jeepneys doon, hindi na iconic jeepney look yung itsura. But the people there, the commuters there, are not complaining. Kasi ang mas importante sa kanila is yung availability of public transport.
DOTR not concerned with that.
Yes, no.
Okay, RJ, Salarina, then Joseph.
Sir, you mentioned earlier that it is wrong to look at public transport as livelihood. Can you elaborate, sir?
Okay. Kaya tayo binibigyan ng prangkisa ng gobyerno is one of the requirement is you should be financially capable. Mahirap na sasabihin mo na this is a source of livelihood kasi nga, number one, binigyan ka ng estado ng prangkisa to operate a public transport service. It should be treated as a public transport service instead of a public of a business, instead of a livelihood business, no? Kapag trinit natin to as a means of livelihood, not as a public transport service, nandun na nagbo-boil down yung problema natin sa efficiency, nandun na yung nagbo-boil down yung problema natin sa individual operator thinking na nakuha ko na yung boundary ko, kailangan na akong umuwi. So kailangan natin ng efficiency. Kailangan natin ng efficiency dito sa ating public transportation.
So, sir, yan din yung message mo sa mga jeepney drivers.
Yes. Hindi dapat titingnan to as a means of livelihood. Tingnan nyo to as a means of public transport service. Yan yung ating message all across public transport modes in the country. Yung mga bus, kapag nakakasidente, importante yan. You should be financially capable to pay for the accident insurance of those who involved in the accident in your bus. Kung ihirit natin livelihood and you're not financially capable, how can you ensure na meron kang pera for the maintenance of your units? How can you ensure na may pera ka for the payment of the insurance of the vehicles? How can you even ensure na meron kang pera for garahe? Kaya nangyayari yung mga jeepneys natin nakapark na lang sa mga gilid-gilid ng mga kalsada, walang garahe. Kasi nga tiningnan to as a means of livelihood.
Sir, another topic lang. So, sir, how's the BRT project?
The bus rapid transit project of DOTR for Cebu and Quezon Avenue will push through.
But in June, parang sinasabi ng DOTR na it will not push through, that you will withdraw it. What changed your mind, sir?
Basically, nagkaroon kami ng inspection with the World Bank team and also joined by NEDA. And in-evaluate namin yung conditions ng corridor ng Cebu and also Quezon Avenue. And we found out na posibleng mag-run pa yung BRT in these corridors.
So, may timeline tayo dito, sir.
We just signed the contract for the TSC for Cebu. So we're already pushing for the BRT to push through.
For Manila, sir.
For Manila, also we have signed a letter to DOF that we will push through with the program.
When?
ASAP. We will now proceed with the detailed engineering design of the project.
Like how ASAP, sir? This year or next year?
Detailed engineering design will proceed this year. So magkakaroon lang yan ng procurement stage. And in 3 years' time, meron tayong BRT.
Thank you.
Okay, Celerina, then Joseph and Ina.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, correct me if I'm wrong. Yung target na to totally phase out yung mga old jeepneys ay by middle of 2020, tama ba?
We would like not to call it na phase out, but we will modernize yung jeepneys. Yeah.
So that's the target.
Yes. Yeah.
But, so, so what will happen to these old jeepneys na phase out again, yung gagamitin ko, sorry. So what will happen and how many drivers would be displaced considering that you're going to limit like the number of vehicles that would ply on the streets?
Okay. Number one, on the old units, ayaw natin na tumakbo pa ito sa kalsada. Dahil nga sinasabi natin siya, these are not environmentally compliant. Clean Air Act yan, batas yan na kailangan nating sundin. Okay? 1999 pa pinasa yung batas na kailangan nating sundin yung Clean Air Act compliance. Number two, on the displacement of drivers, with this new program, mas madali na nating ma-ensure na yung mga drivers na madi-displace is, katulad ng sinabi ko nila, may mga stakeholder support mechanisms. We will offer livelihood programs and also trainings to drivers. Kasama na sa programa yan and nasa budget na ng DOTR yan. And also, kapag cooperative na yung ating pagpapatakbo ng transportation, we can ensure na isang unit pwedeng multiple drivers. Bakit multiple drivers? Kasi may shifting na. May maximum number of hours lang pwedeng mag-drive yung isang driver. Let's say 10 hours or 8 hours a day. So sa isang araw, you can have probably 3 drivers, 2 drivers na pwedeng mag-shifting. So wala kaming nakikita na major displacement ng drivers.
Pero if ever there will be like kahit yung how many yung estimate at ilan lang jeepneys talaga yung matitira sa kalsada yung i-approve?
Yung sinasabi mong how many, no? Magre-resulta yan dun sa ating route rationalization plans, no? Depende sa ruta na yan, depende kung ilan yung matitirang jeepneys, ilan matitirang units sa kalsada. So, ongoing yung ginagawang rationalization plans nationwide. So, the rationalization plans are being done in coordination with local government units.
Do you have any target as to when matatapos yung rationalization plan?
Mid next year. So, unti-unti, habang natin ginagawa tong rationalization plan, ginagawa naman natin itong mga communication drives sa mga drivers, operators. Unti-unti tayong nag-educate sa kanila ng programa. Unti-unti rin tayong nagbubuo ng mga cooperatives para ready sila i-accept yung programa.
Okay, Joseph, last 2 questions, Joseph and Ina.
So you mentioned that the DOTR already have a budget for livelihood projects. That means you're able to compute already how many jeepney drivers will be affected. No? How many what's your figure?
Basically, yung budget na ginamit ng DOTR, no? May mga livelihood trying programs, no? At least 12,000 to 50,000 pesos per driver yung ine-estimate natin.
No, I mean the number of drivers that will be affected.
Yung ginawa natin sa programa for 2018-2019, we have a target of parang 5.8 billion for the PUV modernization program.
No, the number of jeepney drivers that will be affected by this program. Drivers, sir.
Drivers.
Yes.
So for 2018-2019, we have budgeted for the initial implementation at least 20,000 drivers ang binudget natin. 2018.
20,000 jeepney drivers ang
For
affected.
2018. For 2018.
Bakit 2018 lang?
Kasi hindi natin tinitingnan na immediately lahat ma-affect.
Okay.
So unti-unti by stage, by city yung modernization.
All right. Would you have the number of franchise holders for jeepneys? Ilan yung mga operators natin?
The number of franchises is around 170,000 units.
170,000 units. So if you want to use the word modernize, but essentially it sounds like a phase out, you will have to replace at least 170,000 units of jeepneys.
Yes, that's the target.
Okay, so that's potentially big business, no? For the manufacturers. Do you have a list of the manufacturers supplying this new PUVs?
I can give the list later, no? I bigay na lang yung list sa kanila.
All right, so how many manufacturers, how many companies are these?
We have at least a dozen,
A dozen.
companies na already providing the units.
And how did they get to propose a design replacement?
Basically, ang design replacement, nag-undergo yan ng standards sa DTI,
Mhm.
Bureau of Product Standards, yung nag-develop ng ating specifications for the modern vehicles.
Okay, so nag-apply lang sila. I mean, anybody, any manufacturer who has that capability can apply and
Walang application yan. Walang application. Any manufacturer who passes the standards can supply the units.
okay.
So again, yung operators are allowed to choose from anywhere basta compliant yung unit.
How much are the units?
Uh, dep-
Average?
Depende sa cost. The latest figures 1.6, 1.8 million yung mga units.
Per unit.
Yes.
Okay. So sir, halimbawa, ang reality naman dyan sometimes is a jeepney driver, meron siyang jeep, and it is a livelihood for him.
Yes.
And yun lang yung inaasahan niya.
Yes.
How is he going to fit in your modernization program? That sole jeepney driver who relies on the jeepney for pagkain na lang every day, how is he going to fit? It's not part of any operator or any co-op.
Ang sinasabi natin, they should form the co-op. Kung ikaw existing driver, individual ka, sumama ka sa co-op na yan. Sumama ka sa co-op na yan where we will issue the franchise para mas efficient yung operations.
They would have to be part
Yes.
of it. Okay. Sir, talk to the jeepney drivers now who have that jeep. Anong mangyayari sa kanila with the jeepney and yung sistema na gusto niyo mangyari?
Number one, kapag nagbuo na sila ng cooperative, shared na yung capital expense nila. Meaning, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina na 500 units, let's say, sa rationalization, 300 units na lang yung kailangan. You have an existing number of 500 drivers, operators, who will be sharing the expense of buying 300 units. So meaning, nabawasan na further subdivide yung capital expense ninyo. Hindi ka kailangan bumili ng 1.8 kasi 500 kayong bibili ng 1.8.
500 ng 1.8 isang unit? So you mean 1 unit divided by 500 drivers?
Meaning yung 300 units, sorry. 300 units. 500 kayong maghahati-hati to procure the required number of units.
Okay, so,
Sharing of capital expense, sharing of maintenance and operation expense, yan yung pinaka-benefit ng ating consolidation process.
okay, sorry, Ina. Last three, Darrell and Joyce.
Sir, medyo na-touch, tackle nila Joseph. But again, how can you say that operating a jeepney is not a form of livelihood when jeepney drivers every day do this, to support their families? How then would you describe what these jeepney drivers are doing every day?
That's the existing ginagawa ng mga drivers na talagang lahat naman tayo, aminado tayo na yan ang ginagawa nila. It's a means of livelihood. Pero what we are saying is that's the reality kung bakit inefficient yung ating public transportation system. Yun yung message. So we should veer away from looking at this as a means of livelihood, but we should look at this as a public transport business. It's a public transport business.
Sir, even if they end up joining cooperatives, it's still going to be their source of livelihood. In fact, you mentioned earlier also, those who may be affected by the rationalization will be even offered alternative livelihood opportunities. So that just sounds a bit contradicting.
Yes, ganito na lang yung explanation natin dyan. Kapag tinignan mong individual livelihood versus as a public transport, organized public transportation business, yun yung explanation siguro na mas magandang itakal. This should be an organized public transport business, you're given the franchise, you should ensure na ikaw ay financially capable.
Lastly, sir, how can you say that it's not a phase out when, again, for example, earlier you said it's not really a jeepney yung kinalabasan ng mga units, and you don't even want to call it a jeepney modernization program anymore because now you're saying it's a PUV modernization program.
We're calling it as a Public Transport Modernization Program. So PUV Modernization Program. Kasi nga yung jeepneys nga natin, no, yung iconic jeepney look natin, sinasabi ng mga operators na rin, which sila na rin yung namili ng mga bagong jeepneys. Hindi na yun yung lumang jeepney na binili nila. Hindi na yun yung lumang jeepney na binili nila. Ang pinili nila is yung modern jeepney look. Now, we are not imposing kung ano yung bibili nilang units. Bahala yung operator kung ano yung bibilin, kung anong gusto nilang unit, basta they are compliant to the standards. Again, yung standards natin, yung specs natin, it's only pertaining to yung lapad ng pintuan, yung lapad ng upuan, and yung pintuan dapat nasa kanan. But the look, we're not imposing on any look. We're not imposing on any look.
Darrell?
Sir, yung going back to BRT lang po, di ba tatlo po yung line on Quezon Ave, EDSA, and Cebu? Yung EDSA po ba matutuloy pa rin?
Yung EDSA is already, we're undergoing evaluation doon sa EDSA. Previously kasi yung EDSA, meron tayong funder dapat dyan. Yung funder back out of that program. So, andun yung problema dun sa EDSA BRT kung bakit hindi pa natin tinutuloy yung EDSA BRT.
But yung the other two, tuloy po yan?
Yung other two, tuloy yun kasi different yung funder nun. It's under World Bank.
Same value pa rin po ba yung sa Cebu, 10.6 billion?
It's 16
billion. Yung
because of additional right-of-way cost. Kaya bumalik yan sa NEDA yung Cebu BRT.
Yung sa Quezon Avenue po, ano po yung estimated value natin?
It's 4 billion, I think.
Hindi po 4.8?
4.8, yeah.
4.8, okay. Thank you, sir.
Last question, Joyce Balancio.
Sir, regarding lang dun sa shifting, nabanggit ninyo na isang unit pwedeng shifting ang drivers. Sir, hindi po ba siya way of limiting yung pwedeng kitain ng mga driver kung they're allowed to drive only for a certain period of time during the day? And how do we plan to implement that?
Yung isang co-op na papatakbo nitong modern jeepneys natin, no? Yung mga drivers are earning 1,200 pesos a day. Yung ina-earn ng drivers. So, almost the same dun sa kanilang kinikita kapag boundary system sila.
Yung binanggit nyo, sir, na 1,200, anong shift yon? Based po ba yun sa...
10 hours na shift.
Okay. So, yung balak po natin i-implement na shifting na drivers is per 10 hour?
Basically, depende sa agreement sa co-op and depende rin sa ruta. May mga ruta kasi tayo na mas maigsi yung operations time. So meaning sa umaga lang yung mas marami yung pasahero. Pagdating ng alas 7, wala na masyadong pasahero. So mas maigsi yung mas maigsi yung shifting.
So sir, can you categorically say na hindi to in a way limiting yung pwedeng kitain ng drivers?
We would like to think na we're also providing benefits to drivers. Kasi kapag co-op na kayo, you will be able to provide benefits like PhilHealth, SSS dun sa mga drivers.
Okay, Joseph, last question.
Sir, clarification. You said for 2018 there's going to be at least 20,000 jeepney drivers to be affected, no? And then you have said 170,000, what's this again? Operators?
That's the number of franchise units.
Franchise units. But
Yes.
but parang dapat mas maraming driver if you have franchise holders, right?
Yes.
Why the disparity, 20,000 versus 170,000?
Kasi yung 20,000 natin is only for the initial implementation for 2018. So this is a rolling program na dinidevelop natin ngayon.
And the one, this is nationwide, 20,000?
No, limited number lang yan sa Metro Manila and yung mga initial implementation routes natin. May mga na-identify tayong initial implementation routes na pinakita ko kanina, yung NCR, Iloilo, Tacloban.
Okay. The 170 is the existing franchise holders for any other time, right?
Nationwide.
Okay. Sir, kung halimbawa operator ka, you're going to buy a 1.6, 1.8 million worth of a minivan, minibus, paano yung ROI nun? Kailan mo bababawi yun? Because that's a lot of money.
Kapag nag-co-op na sila, we have projected a 3-year ROI. May mga financial computations na tayong ginawa. Depende yan sa mga ruta, depende sa viability ng mga ruta. We're looking at 2.5 years.
Alright, that's it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, maraming salamat Assistant Secretary Mark De Leon. Salamat ASEC Tony Lambino. Back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.